No moral ambiguity, all the ingenuity. Thoroughly directed at war in your community. No matter what they do to me, it won't change the fact. Freedom's a human right, it's time to take it back. So how do we stop this obnoxious nonsense? A meeting, a forum, a concert, a conference. I understand the need to talk and process, but we need action, not just thoughts and concepts.
Somebody help me.
That's word.
This is not healthy.
Man.
I am not wealthy.
What I do, have the power to break the chains.
Welcome to another Right to Survive TV on Open Signal. Today our topic is pitch a tent. And the city passed an ordinance or a permit to give people to pitch a tent, put a tent up on the sidewalk the day before the floor parade, better known as the Rose Festival, and they can stay overnight, enjoy the entertainment or the parade the next day. Leo Rose came to me 8 years ago and told me about this ordinance. So we have 5 guests here. They're going to tell you their participation and give you a brief history on what pitch a tent is. But first, we're going to go to a video and see some of the entertainment and the actions. Several years of events for PAT, better known as Pitch a Tent.
Somebody help me.
I'm here with Right to Dream, volunteering or being a part of Pitch a Tent to support our community and be a part of homeless awareness.
What do you think of homeless people?
I love homeless people. I believe that we are the least of these.
Housing rocks. Housing is cool. We want housing for all people, and we will no longer allow ourselves to be divided and conquered. We will no longer allow the prison industrial complex to look at our 4th grade education scores in order to decide how many prisons we need to build for tomorrow.
Spaceships to slave ships, my plate pin's a snake pit. Reclaiming the sacred to raise my vibrations. I'm taking the basic and speaking. Illumination through communication, I keep it circulating from beneath the peak to the zenith. I'm reaching from the base of my sacred to my apex. I mean it with the heat of a phoenix, spreading his wings in the evening, conceiving darkness to lead it for the people to see it and bringing artistic freedom long as my heart is still beating and we're still breathing and bleeding and breathing. Believe it.
I don't think there should be any houseless people. We're the only species on the planet that has to pay rent.
Do actions like this ever make a difference?
Well, I'd like to think so.
Makes a difference because when we first started off 5 years ago, it was 2.5 blocks, and it was due because it wasn't popular. Even the houseless community was telling us, we can't do that, they're going to get in trouble, they don't want to go to jail. So what we started doing is getting the ordinances and passing it out to people. Last year, 10 to 11.5 blocks on both sides.
Don't let them tell you that there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with any of you out here. You're all beautiful people. The problem is those people in that pig car over there. That's the problem. Those are the sick people. Those are the
Hi, camera. How you doing?
I didn't know no words to speak. By the time I was 7, I was considered a teenager.
And knowing at the end of the day, we have each other's back. That's the community that we're building. That's the community I want to live in.
Look, as I'm impatiently writing this, temptation I'm fighting it, contemplating, staying complacent, really why I resist. The Alpha and Omega, you're the creator, the life in this. I'm the beta stuck in isolation like a fighting fish.
So we come out to red tent, and mostly in solidarity for the houseless women, because in Portland, 1/3 of all houseless individuals are women.
Sorry that they screwed ya. They know how to stick it to ya.
Social and economic group, the age groups has expanded. Of course, the total numbers have expanded. We see more family units. Seems like it's a epidemic proportions, really.
Let's get together and feel and
you all for coming out today. We really appreciate all your energy and your good vibes, and you're handling the rain very well. Big hand, please. Face the overflow.
Big props and big love to the DJ. To all the artists that performed today, y'all are all amazing. To everybody who just came out and showed support. To everybody, really, everybody, just hella love. They keep talking about shaking asses. I keep talking about shaking masses till the status lattice crashes. I fashions bash like cashes. I'm rashes, violent clashes when my serpent tongue lashes. I'm like, let's go burn down Master's house and party in the ash.
In your sky, be his pleasure. Bullshit pleasure.
I was trying to come up with a great ending for this last night. Something that would inspire people to give their time. One of our most valuable tools for survival. To raise your voices. To say we are not trash. We are human and deserve our right to survive. Because the need is so great. But I was in a new spot thinking about it when a man walked up. He looked like a cartoon homeless person. Something you would see in a movie. Dirty white hair, scraggly beard, dirt on his face and clothes, carrying what he needed to survive in a trash bag. He asked me if this was a safe place to sleep, and I told him I'd been there 3 days with no cops and no drama, but couldn't offer any guarantees, but he was welcome to stay. He sat down and offered to share the little bit of food he had. I said I was okay, but after I got in the sleeping bag, he tossed the bag of chips in front of me. Even though he looked like what they say we are, he knew he was a human being and not trash. So I'm asking for you today that you respect yourself and never buy what they're trying to sell. You are not trash.
Pitch a tent, you feel me? Yeah. There the other day and a homeless guy came up to me with a box of pizza and he offered me a piece of pizza, you know what I'm saying? And I was so surprised by that. I was like, there's so many people that have so much money that I walk by down these streets every day and they're so unwilling to help each other. And I think that's what the world is lacking, you know what I mean? So I just want you to know that I appreciate you. You know what I mean? We're all humans and we all deserve respect and love, you feel me? Yeah, this song's called All I Want. Yeah, Chet 22, Gage is the name. Started broken hearted, now I'm grown in the game. No pain, no gain, I'm floating overcame. Didn't say the change for the money and the fame. It was for the pain, she lives in my brain. True in the none, she keeping me lame. Her name is the reason I'm going insane.
I got it from my daddy. I got it from my daddy. I got it. Hey, where'd you get that body from?
The houseless community is a neighborhood. They are humans, and we deserve to be treated like humans.
I'm the chairperson for Right to Survive. I'm Lisa Fay. I've been with the organization since 2010 and attended every pitch tent since the beginning. As we saw in the video, there's a lot of musicians, artists, guest speakers. People come from various organizations each year, whether there's sunshine or there's rain or it's warm or it's cold. The idea is to get information about houselessness out and have a good time in doing it. But where pitching a tent is also like a statement to say houseless people have a right to survive. They have a right to occupy a space. They have a right to cover themselves in a way that they feel safe. They have issues around food deserts in a lot of locations. Not everyone is within the city downtown area. That houseless people has expanded, not just throughout Portland and in Portland neighborhoods, but in neighborhoods all over the country, there's houselessness. Spend the taxpayer dollars on creating more affordable housing, low-income housing, instead of criminalizing people over and over again for survival crimes.
Let the reality and the talk seduce you. Check it out, y'all.
Hi, I'm Tim Mears, giving keynote at Pitch a Tent.
Yeah.
First one.
Sarah Louise, this is my second Pitch a Tent, coordinated youth.
Sean, I'm a hip hop dancer and a trapeze artist.
MC Shoehorn, I'm an entertainer, performance artist, musician.
What brings you to Pitch a Tent year after year?
I frankly, as a tax-paying citizen, I don't like to see people camped on the street. I think there should be accommodation, and if they're on the street, the city, if it doesn't like it, we have to provide some services for these people. Right now, housing is too expensive for most people.
Amen.
Especially if you're trying to break into it.
Break into a house or break into?
Break into the market. You know,
Okay.
like actually like putting down a lease.
Maybe we should break into houses. Empty houses.
Break into the empty houses. Squatting. Squatting is a big deal in Amsterdam and in Europe. I lived over there for a while, and if a property is unoccupied, people have the actual right to squat in those places. But on the other hand, on the local level, I would like to see trash barrels and porta potties there in the areas where there's a lot of concentration. That just helps people have a little bit of dignity about it. There's no shame in sleeping in a tent.
It's not.
I did it. I slept in a van for 2 years when I was going to college, and I never felt bad about it. A lot of hip hop artists coming up now, tap dance, a lot of the original hoofers started out doing street dancing. I started out as a street dancer in New Orleans a long time ago, and it's still part of my financial portfolio, if you will, to be a street musician and a street dancer. But I think a lot of great things happen on the street. That's where we see our neighbors. That's where we pass each other and wave, and you know, they have the parades on the street, going down the street. And I really like to bring some life to the community, and I support Pitch a Tent for the reasons I mentioned before, because people deserve to be able to sleep overnight. I know it freaks people out sometimes. The first time I saw a person sleeping on the street, I thought they were dead.
Me too.
And I was an exchange student in South America, and I saw a lady sleeping on the street, and I went, "Is she dead? Let's call the police." You know, because I was just a middle-class kid from Illinois, and I looked, and I just realized it took me a while to notice that people are living out of doors. They have no place to go.
I've been doing work with youth in Portland for quite some time, and this past year in particular, we've seen some real youth-directed actual social justice movements. We see homeless youth joining together with PSU students and the community around them in a way that I find really moving and powerful. I think solidarity is particularly important at a time like this. More than direct service, our youth, they need the chance to express themselves and actually be heard for what they have to say. And this is a concrete option for that, and it's been a pleasure to watch them.
You helped this year. Last year, we came to you and you said, sure, we'll send some people to.
Yeah.
But this year, you helped in planning and doing the logistics.
Yep.
And can you tell us your preparation? Easy? Was it tiresome? Was it joyful?
I think it was all of the above at different moments. There are some youth I knew that would want to perform, just and leave it there. That's what they were most interested in. But we invited in some youth to be more involved in the setup. So one of the coolest things I think that we all did together, and Tim was there for this as well, and we did a site walk beforehand, and I think that was a really cool moment because that's kind of true inclusivity to me. They had some really good input on, you know, where to place some tents for people who might not feel that comfortable being directly that far on the street because of trauma and other stuff. So that kind of opened the doors for even more participation. So that was just really moving for me. Also seeing, you know, the performers go beyond dancing, watching Sean take the mic, really excellent. I was surprised, you know, that I just took a walkie-talkie and took kind of a different sort of role, you know, kind of just sat back, what needs to be done, you know. And then at the end of it, you know, just getting to sit there, I mean, it's 24 hours long, so, you know, as a direct service worker, you know, you're used to like, and now I go home. This is, you know, you're sitting there in solidarity with people, and you just kind of see people drop their roles in a way that I think is feels just as good to me as it does to them.
So Sean, you can be out playing Donkey Kong or something like that.
Very true. I could be at home video gaming. I do it because everyone has a voice. Mainly, you know, I do it to entertain them, and because I've been on both sides. I have been homeless, and I know what it's like to be housed, and you struggle either way. My housing, it's too expensive to the point where I might not even be able to pay my rent next month, but I know how talented I can be, and that's what it gets me places. And I also feel like it's not just about houses people anymore. It's about now everybody has a problem. And now it's almost like we have to stand up for each other, because you can't rely on the government to turn around and be like, okay, we got y'all, because they don't. Houselessness, I can probably say it was probably one of the best times of my life. Like, oh my God. All I did was dance up and down the street. No one, I mean, of course they criticize me now, like, you look like late twins, but I always tell people, all art is plagiarized, but a great artist steals, and they do it well. That's just fact.
And so why do you dance?
Because I love it. I love the fact that I can have a cancer patient come to me and say, you make my day. I go to chemo, but you make me smile.
Okay. And how did you get yourself out of houselessness?
I used the Street Roots book.
Okay.
I went from Human Solutions to the Central City Concern.
You was our first ever, and forgive me for this, houseless keynote speaker. How did that make you feel?
Pretty good. Yeah, I thought it was an important time for voices to be heard.
Because I know our theme was trash talk, right?
Some of it was about my own personal experience of living houselessness, and a lot of the effects that I see from other people similar to my own experiences, and how poorly the social service system works, and how ineffective it often is in actually helping people.
Do the social service work poorly because it's a combination of not knowing houselessness and there's too many houseless people, or they just using you as a monetary figure?
It's a little bit of 1 and 3, I think. Like the increasedness in houselessness is more of a total effect of society. Like we'll only care about making money, and all the status is only about rich people. So that's kind of a societal issue. The direct effects, I think, for houseless people, remind me one more time. What was 1 and 3?
Monetary figure.
Right, the failure of the social service systems, right? They don't, they have no clue, like, really the challenges that houseless people face, or how to actually address the problems correctly. They assume that they already have all the answers, like take this pill if you have any kind of mental health issue, and it'll just make you calm, right? Docile, able to be handled. Stick you in some facility and keep you docile, and we'll milk you for money while you're in there, right? And if you happen to fail, right, if you get housing and a job, but you don't get mental health services or drug addiction services, or whatever kind of equipment you need for your disability, then you're not going to be able to maintain your employment and your housing. So this is a repeating cycle that happens over and over again. The social system service knows it, So they can just send people right back through over and over again, milking the same cash cow over and over again.
So it's a vicious cycle.
It is a cycle, and it's a self-perpetuating cycle because they want it to be. Like the people at the top, not necessarily the people that you directly interact with.
That's work.
This is not healthy.
Oh, man.
I am not wealthy.
What I do, have the power to break the chains.
Why are house people afraid of houseless people?
I've actually gone out and experimented with that. And you've got some of them that they downright, they just don't care. But then you have others that, like myself, where I've helped somebody that was housed and they literally screwed me over, and they're just like, well, I'm not gonna turn around and help you if you show you don't wanna help yourself.
I would say guilt and fear are part of it, because I know that, you know, I have a home and a family, but so many of the people on the street were in a similar situation to me, and then they lost everything. They talk about a safety net, but doesn't seem to really be much of a net there. And I was curious about what Tim was saying regarding milking people for money, because that seems like the money is going to some bureaucracy, and not actually filtering down to help an actual person. But I think people feel guilty for one thing, for example, like, oh, I couldn't help that guy, or I'm just gonna like tighten up because I don't want to talk to this person. I think many people are afraid of losing everything and having to be like that, and maybe even parents might say, hey, you know, you better stay in school or you're going to wind up like that poor unfortunate person. You know, like it's a certain manipulation of people, and the fear of people that are different than you.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sarah
I
Louise.
definitely agree that it's about that fear of people different than you. I would like to quote actually another Right to Survive member who said that homelessness is the accelerated process of living and dying. So that kind of means there's a certain decay attached to it. It's visible. You can see how people are living, and you can see the effects of it, and that's hard to look at for most people. They have to turn inward when they see that. And when you turn inward, maybe you see something, you know, you don't like about yourself. Like, it's hard for you to look at that. So it's easier to turn away from that, but I think it's, you know, our social responsibility, particularly right now, to keep our eyes open.
Well, there's generally negative portrayal in the media. Observe maybe extremely aberrant behavior from a very small portion of the population. Also, some of it is that people don't have access to hygiene needs, so a lot of times they're dirty, they don't have adequate food, so they're not healthy, they don't get medical care. So all these things, you know, when you look at it, then it looks like the way our society views it as less of a person.
But isn't this the messages that Picture Tent is trying to convey to the public?
That there is a double standard.
You have, like Shoehorn, Sarah Louise, Sean, me, you. If somebody comes, who can say who's houseless and who's not houseless? We enjoying each other. We in the rain dancing with each other. Why aren't they accepting us as humans, but as that wretched houseless people, like Shoehorn say? Why are they using that as a negative thing when this country imposed this on people?
Right, well, our society does, it sets the value by your economic status. That's the number one thing that determines your value in our society.
There's a lot of cultural differences starting to happen in you know, tech brings a lot of things that are good with it, but we see, I think, just a lot of people who are housed, stressed out and moving really fast. Really highlights the culture of individualism in this country. Homeless people make us question that. Can we really be individuals successfully in this country?
But the houseless community is the real melting pot. Look at us up here now, you see the differences. And if people can learn to put their differences behind them, like we do that one day at Picture Tent, and enjoy each other.
This is a song I wrote in '89. It's called Place to Stay. Camped in the park day after day, We get here after dark and wait for the day. People see us, they make a fuss, they start to cuss, get on that bus. They always try to chase us away. You know that it's tough to make it alone. It's always rough when the road is your home. I was bold, now I'm cold. I've been told I'm getting old, but I really need my very own place to stay. When I met you, I thought we would go a long way. Such a good thing, who could ever betray? A love so sweet, a life so neat, and so complete. And now I'm beat, running down the road, looking for a place to stay. The earth is a mess, dirtier every day. We're making a buck, burning her riches away. I've no place to show my face, the human race in such disgrace. It's a wonder it's not over today. Crowded and hungry, people pushing everywhere, ruining forests and farmland, water and air. Nowhere to go if you ain't got no dough, seeds to sow, but what can grow? Toxic waste and acid rain leaking into my own place to stay. At least with you I could feel better today. But I have a website where I post my schedule, which is shoehornmusic.com. And also I play the first Friday of the month with Baby Gramps at the Laurel Thirst Public House. And I also do regular performances on the main stage at Saturday Market. And there's other events around town that I will list on my website. Thank you for reminding me of that, Ibrahim.
Thank you much. Give a big round of applause for our guests here, Timothy Mears, Sarah Louise, Sean Williams, and Shoehorn, and Lisa Faye, who went back to filming, doing the video with us. And you can reach us at Right to Survive. We're a houseless advocacy organization at righttosurvive.org. And our shows have been running on Open Signals, and you can go to YouTube and find us. Thank you, and remember, houseless people are humans also.
So kiss the back of my butt! Kiss the back of my butt! Deep greedy, googling about men the cue to be the next. Fingers ring, la 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 leader. Cute jumpers, raw feelings, paper scissors. La 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 linger flowers. The choir hear your hoof lies a heartland with the tempo. Our treasure, pleasure, leisure, it's all in your eyes. In your snatch with pleasure, a boom, pleasure.